Hey Curtis, what do you got
Hey,
for us
Oz.
What do you have for us this week?
Oh man, I am pumped this week, guys. And to match that energy, I've got a 5-parter.
Oh,
I couldn't leave any of these out. We got Aliens meets Commando, crossed with Home Alone, featuring George of the Jungle, and you could make a stew out of that. We're covering 1987's Predator.
that's quite the grouping there. But
Like
yeah,
the menagerie, yes.
and I've always been undecided. Is it cheating when we throw a movie marriage in? It's almost like we threw in one of Arnold's previous marriages.
Eh,
Oh, I don't care. I've
Yeah.
done it too. I was like, when I reference another movie, but who cares? So welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Bling, 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 bling.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah,
I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I am Curtis.
And we are here this week to talk episode 57, Predator, wrapping up November, which has been 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger month. And it is your week, so
Oh, is it my week, buddy?
yes, and I am fully ready to drop some characters, mention a Patreon subscriber or two, and just get out of the way.
This Predator is, I can easily say, is within my top 10 all-time movies. I love this movie so much.
my wife was asking last night, and I'm like, I'd put this probably Curtis's top 5. But yeah, I would say top 10 is easily safe, and I would be hard pressed to guess your other 9 in your top 10. I could probably guess a few of them, but oh well. Before we get rolling too far, we do want to give a shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S and Melissa L. Thank you once again for your patronage, and I'm looking forward to December 1st. What rolls over and that sweet coin rolls in.
Yeah, exactly. Gimme.
Right. I could probably get two bottles of Pepsi with that with that sweet subscriber money. No, but thank you guys very much for your patronage. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to donate and hear your name shouted from the rooftops, hit us up on the link below, and we would love to add you to our list. You know what? I'll just be straight honest. I would be perfectly fine if each week we just spent the first hour naming off Patreon subscribers.
And then maybe we spend 30 seconds. Yeah. Ernest goes to camp, and then
blah blah blah. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Eggs erroneous and
Ernest.
Jim Varney. Ew, and we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you. Our default movie in the hopper is Ernest Goes to Camp.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, when you hear Ernest Goes to Camp, it's the end of our podcast.
Yes,
we're saving that as the 57,000th episode.
Yes.
So all right, let's get into some characters. This is a short list of characters. It's you mentioned Aliens. If I were putting this together, I may have mentioned The Thing.
Yes.
Only because of the with the exception of with Anna, the extremely testosterone-driven cast.
Yes.
But we're going to start out with Man of the Month, Arnold Schwarzenegger himself playing Dutch.
Yeah.
The leader, I don't know what ranking he has. Every movie he seems to be like the highest ranking official.
I think he's a major in this movie.
Right. I'm surprised he hasn't just played president as commander-in-chief of the armed forces at some point.
You know that all of these characters have full names?
I did not know that. They don't list them on IMDb.
They're on Wikipedia. We get that quick here. But I know...
Don't steal it. I'll switch over.
Okay.
You've got the plot. You leave this alone.
Hands off, Mikey.
All right, here we go. So our cast is Arnold Schwarzenegger as Major Alan Dutch Schaefer.
Alan.
It's odd that they give them full names, considering that they don't ever use them.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Weathers as Al Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
That's Dutch's Vietnam War buddy, but he's now works for the CIA.
Yep. He's
Uh,
a government spook.
I'm gonna I'm gonna leave our female to last. Other soldiers, I guess you would say,
Yes.
in Dutch's regime are
We are rescue crew.
Yeah, rescue crew.
Rescue crew.
We have Bill Duke playing Sergeant Mac Elliott. He's a machine gunner, and Blaine's friend. Blaine is played by former wrestler and Governor Jesse Ventura as Blaine Cooper. He's the heavy gunner. He's got the mini gun that just rattles off hundreds of rounds a minute. He calls old painless.
Old painless.
Old
I was reading
Pain.
that they had to like really rig this gun to make it like operational for.
I'm sure.
Like normally they're mounted on helicopters.
Yeah,
and they had to slow it down to a third of its firing rate.
I would, but knowing the size of Ventura, they probably didn't lighten the gun at all. He's probably
that dude's massive.
He's probably lugging around the real thing. We've got Jorge Pancho Ramirez, played by Richard Chavez. He's the explosive expert of the group, and boy, do we get some explosives. Shane Black, the radio operator, and he looks every bit the part of radio operator. He plays Rick Hawkins. He also wrote the script, didn't he?
I think he didn't write it.
Or he had a hand in it.
He did like touch-ups and stuff.
Yeah. And last but not least of our ragtag group of soldiers is Sonny Landham playing Billy Soul, the tracker and scout, and the most feared actor on the set.
The studio had to hire a bodyguard for him, but not to keep him safe, to keep the other crew members safe from him.
Right. It's like
it's like a chaperone.
It's like that scene at the opening of Batman Begins, where Bruce Wayne's beating up all those inmates, and then they drag him off to solitary for their protection, not for his. Others we see in here, we do have one female, Elpidia Carrillo as Ana Gonçalves. She's just there. She's the sole survivor because these men only know how to kill men, and she's the only female on the cast, so she gets to live.
He didn't kill you because you weren't armed.
We also see, excuse me, R.J. Armstrong as Major General Homer Phillips. Predator himself also playing a helicopter pilot, not in costume.
The legs on, but no,
is like 7-footer Kevin Peter Hall. He's a big dude. Originally, they were going to go with Jean-Claude Van Damme, but that didn't work out because it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
And then we can't leave him out. Sven-Ole Thorsen.
Oh, he was there.
He plays a Soviet military advisor
in Sven-Ole Thorsen month.
I didn't know he was in the movie, but knowing we talked about him, I did see him, and I was like, "Oh, there it is.
There he is.
Check mark." And then we can't forget the Peter Cullen, the gentleman responsible for the voice of the Predator.
Yep, and the voice of OG Optimus Prime.
Oh, I didn't know that, but yeah. So, despite the fact that anytime we hear Predator actually articulate is just like he's like dubbing or cloning someone else's voice from memory. I don't think that's Peter Cullen. I think that was just Bill Duke's repeated lines.
Yeah.
But Peter Cullen gets to do all the grunts and laughing of Predator.
And the clicks and I so love the sound of Predator.
It adds so much to the character for sure. So that's it. That's our cast. There's a couple others. We've got a medic played by Franco Colombo. We've got my favorite guy, Henry Kingji, which is guerrilla soldier blown up in van. But I could go on and on. So, all right. Now this is my time to just step out of the way and let you lay the groundwork.
Oh, I'm going to start by taking my shirt off, Oz.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, now that that's out of the way. Oh, God, again, I love this movie. As I mentioned before, this is easily top 10 in my all-time favorites. And the way I determine like my favorite movies, because it's like a lot of folks, you kind of separate your fun movies, your arts and entertainment, sort of. Like you have your artsy movies, like I'm a huge Blade Runner fan. That's one of my favorites. And
Right.
then you have your entertainment movies, like a The Naked Gun,
Yeah.
and I judge my all-time favorites on rewatchability.
Oh, I do too.
Which doesn't necessarily mean like it's the best movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Citizen Kane, amazing movie. Not going to be in my top 10 because it's not a movie I could just flip the channels and like, oh, Aliens is on. I'm going to watch this. Oh, Thor Ragnarok is on. I'm going to watch this. Oh, Predator's on. I'm going to watch this.
Yeah, Flash Gordon is one of my top 4.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie. But
you just love it.
I get excited every time it's on.
And so Predator is up there on the list for me. And there's some nostalgia as well, which I'll get into in my 3, 2, 1s here as well.
Well, you lost your family in the jungles to a predator.
I did. It's we were in the hills in Nicaragua.
I thought it was Valverde.
Yeah, we were in Valverde. We were storming. What's this? Oh god, I'm blanking on the actor's name now. The president.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his name?
I don't know. I'll find it, but you're good.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I know.
The really, really hairy guy.
Yeah.
We were storming the president's mansion, and the predator got the drop on us. And
it happens. I didn't mean to put the cart before the horse, but I know it's been rough for you, especially through the holiday season here.
It's I'm a survivor. And,
you are,
and I,
Destiny's Child made I think they made their song about you, didn't they?
They did. I mean,
I thought so.
I licensed the story out to Destiny's Child. One thing leads to another, and that's the man I am today.
Because you dated Kelly Rowlands for like a month.
Yeah, we dated for a hot minute. It was, we had a good time together, but it just, I like the fame, and she didn't. So that's why we found this podcast,
and distance got between you two when she went to film Freddy versus Jason, and I mean, one thing led to another. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, and she had a thing with Robert Englund, and that just drove a wedge between us. And
dressed as Freddy, though, I heard she wasn't really into him when it was just Robert Englund.
Yeah, it's like you keep that glove on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. It was. I remember a lot of long nights walking you through that process. So
yeah, but I mean, it's just I grieve by telling the story, and the story I choose to tell is the narration of the movie Predator.
And I grieve by listening to other people's grieving. I feel so bad.
Yeah, I feel so bad that you feel so bad that you felt so bad.
It's called empathy. It's empathy.
That's the definition of empathy.
Yeah, I feel bad when you feel bad.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I feel so bad.
What's wrong? She feels bad.
I feel bad too.
Anyway, Predator.
Now that you're all more emotionally fulfilled people, our viewers and listeners here. So we have an opening shot, Oz, and this is what I'm definitely going to come back to in the 3, 2, 1s.
I better come up with another one then.
Okay, just as a heads up, we have an opening shot. The first minute and 30 seconds. We are treated to an alien craft or some kind of craft flying through space. And it kind of flies by Earth and then ejects like a smaller pod into the atmosphere.
Right. And by craft, I know that you mean like a spaceship of some sort, not like scrapbooking or needlepoint or something like that. Or watercolors.
Or like, like your own homemade bathtub IPA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Not that kind of craft.
Yeah.
Or the 1996 Teenage Witch movie.
The craft. Yeah.
We just see the VHS box.
Just ejected out into the Earth's atmosphere.
Oh no, craft!
There goes Robert Tony. And then after this scene, because again, I feel like we have to mention that.
Yeah.
And then at the minute and a half mark in the runtime, we then get the real start of the movie, which is a couple helicopters flying over the horizon. It's amazing Alan Silvestri music playing as.
Oh yeah.
We see Dylan waiting inside a building on this beach in a hot, sweaty, grimy building with a ceiling fan going. Dutch's team exits the chopper looking totally BA. Dutch, of course, with a massive cigar in his mouth because
Yeah.
that's what you do.
Yeah. Because he's fit.
He is. So that's what fit people do, is they chop cigars.
Imagine how fast he would have taken down Predator if he wasn't a smoker. Come on. When he was yelling "kill me," he was actually talking about his lung cancer. Like, come on.
The pain.
I don't want to die by his hand. Kill me. Come on, emphysema.
Dylan and Dutch, who have history together, as you mentioned during the character rundown, they greet each other inside of this base of operations here. You're looking good, Dutch. And then, Oz, we get the greatest handshake in human history.
Oh yeah. This handshake between these guys is reminiscent of the Ricky O head smash at the end of the Daily Show back in the day. Mm-hmm. It's like you just watch it on repeat. It's so classic.
Yeah. So it's more of like it's not a high five, it's not a handshake, it's somewhere in between.
I think it's more like a airbound arm wrestling match.
There you go. That's what it looks like.
These two were over the top, and
by the way, disclaimer, folks: this entire episode is basically going to be me just repeating lines from the movie,
which is fine. And I need to learn to just shut up and get out of the way, like I said I would.
No. We're treated to the age old. What's the matter, Dylan? CIA got you pushing too many pencils. As they then arm wrestle in the air and
right.
Oh, great. So Dutch is told that a cabinet administrator is in guerrilla hands, and that's why the team is here. We are a rescue team, not assassins. They give Dutch the operational plan, and Dylan says he's going with Oz, which Dutch is skeptical about.
Right.
We work alone.
Just the six of us.
No can do, old buddy.
Yeah, we're the Lone Rangers, plural.
So the 6+1 are immediately. We're 8 minutes into the film, and they're getting dropped in the jungle from these helicopters. Long Tall Sally by Little Richard is playing.
It's 2 weeks in a row with a Little Richard song in a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It would have been funny if it was Twins that he was listening to. Twins!
He and Danny DeVito do the air high five. Right. What's the matter, Vincent?
That would have been fun.
We get a couple little character moments in the chopper, which is one of the things I love about the movie. You get to know the team members. Like, yes, they are eventually expendable assets, but you do get to know just enough about the characters.
Right.
You care about the team. You can tell they care about each other.
Yeah.
They have a job to do.
Right.
And that takes precedent over everything else. But I love how this movie just it doesn't give their full backstory, and you don't need it, but you get enough about who they are, how they interact with their peers, with their colleagues, and I just love it. Like you get Blaine offering Mac chew, Blaine spits chew on Dylan's shoe.
Yeah,
just to kind of show him that he's not welcome here.
Right. And it like you know, so many movies like this that get it wrong is they just treat the muscle like muscle.
Yeah.
You know, and this one is so well written to where you get a lot out of a little in scenes like this, and it really does humanize these guys and let them know that it's, you know, for them it's work. Yeah. You know, that these are all co-workers, and that's what they're doing, is they're just going to work. Yeah.
You're not wrong in how you frame it that way. Hawkins and Billy have a moment there, which I'm also going to circle back to in my 3, 2, 1, with a couple of the crude jokes that Hawkins makes there. But
you've already listed 2 of your goods, so
yeah, I've got like 27 possible goods.
That's true. I'll handle the 2-1 of the show. You just do
and not some other great quotes. You know, Pancho is giving Blaine a hard time for the chew. Blaine makes a joke, which I will come back to.
Yeah.
But then ends the joke with, "This stuff will make you a sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me."
Right. With his short, stubby arms.
Yeah. Again, you get the idea that the unit's been together. They work well together. They respect each other. And then they reach the drop point. Never knew how much I missed this, Dutch. You never were that smart. Then they get dropped into the jungle. They rappel their way down on ropes. And then we get some great little tracking shots. I love the camera in this movie. A lot of the handheld stuff, and it tracks them like through the foliage, through the forest,
right,
through the tree branches. Yeah, the camera work, the cinematography in this film is amazing as well. They come across a downed American helicopter, which is hanging from a tree. Turns out that the locals took it out with a heat seeker.
From Stark
sophisticated
Industries, probably.
Yeah, for a bunch of half-blank mountain boys.
Right.
Yeah, so these guerrillas they're after are pretty well armed, which again kind of leads to why is Dylan there?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's clearly out of his element.
Yeah. So Billy, who is their tracker, they each have a role on the team, as you mentioned before. He reports that there were 12 guerrillas and they took the 2 officials from the copter. However, he also spots 6 men wearing U.S. Army boots coming through and tracking the guerrillas as well. And
Billy has to be the greatest tracker on the planet. Like,
he is.
And granted, it's fun because it's a movie to where obviously as an actor he's not tracking, he's just delivering the plot line to keep things. But
he sells it.
But it's like, right, he really does sell it. To watch him do this is fun because he'll just look at the ground for a minute and be like, 12 men,
yeah,
six American boots, and you're like, whoa, and you believe it because he looks the part.
Yeah, he sells it so well. So good on Sonny Landham for his acting chops there. Perfect casting, you can say. Again, Dylan lies about it. It's just another rebel patrol. He doesn't want to give away his cover story. Billy takes a drink from a vine, and as he's doing so, you hear the predator growl for the first time, Oz. Mm-hmm. And he hears something. He knows something's up. He hears some birds. He crawls into this little clearing, and Oz, there are 6 skinless men hanging from trees.
You know who it was, don't you?
Who?
It's Vincent Price and Haddette from Running Man.
there they are.
Yeah,
they're not enjoying their vacation in Hawaii.
No, that's them.
So again, it's the first real kind of like what is going on here moment. I remember the first time I saw this movie, and like that scene just like you think it's just this sort of standard army movie at this point in the if you ignore the first minute and a half, and you're like, what is going on here? I don't know. Do you recall the first time you saw this movie, Oz?
I don't, but I remember a similar theme of like. I was young, so I don't like I didn't understand the armies in and outs or whatever, but I just remember it being just like bizarre. Like, wow, people did that to people, and but it definitely, I wouldn't have been surprised if you threw a From Dusk Till Dawn in your movie Marriage too, just because this movie does lead you down one path and then jerk the wheel over into an on ramp to somewhere else, and. But yeah, I don't remember, vividly the first time, but I do remember being like, this movie is pretty awesome.
So there's these 6 just skinned men just hanging there. And there's like a pile of guts on the ground. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. And again, Dylan keeps lying. He knows that it's those 6 American men that were sent in, but he's like, and Dutch is like, somebody sent them. Yeah. And just knowing that Dylan's lying.
Right.
Billy finds empty shells and said that they were shooting in all directions. These are like American shells, and had no idea. There's no tracks for what they were shooting at. And then Mac turns to Blaine, and Blaine says, "Time to let old Painless out of the bag." Cut to Blaine unzipping a gigantic minigun, Oz. Payback time.
So he's been waiting so long to pull this thing out.
Yeah. So the camera pushes into the trees, and we see a first-person shot of something watching them, and we get that heat infrared vision for the first time.
Right.
It just, which is again the Predator's POV, which it seeds in through the first, like through the first act of this movie. Again, you love it because you don't know exactly what's going on here.
Right.
Like, are these the rebels watching them? Is this something else? Dylan slips on some kind of branch, and one of my favorite little moments in the movie, Mac, Bill Duke's character, just pops in a frame and says, "You're ghosting us. I don't care who you are in the world. I'll bleed you real quiet. Leave you here."
And we know he's serious because we've seen Mac dry shaving several times in the movie.
It's you kind of get the idea that something's up with Mac. Like, he's good at his job, but there's just something a little unsettled about it.
Right, he's a little off.
Yeah. And so they arrive at this camp. They arrive at this guerrilla camp. Again, we're like 20 minutes in, Oz, and we're already...
This movie flies.
And we're already there. So Dutch is kind of giving silent orders out to them, or just very, very, with very little dialogue, because they know what to do. They know their roles. Yeah. They know how to handle these things. Dutch looks down through a set of binoculars and sees one of the hostages get shot in the head by Sven-Ole Thorsen.
Yep.
And why are there Russians here, by the way, Oz? This is in Central America.
Yeah, this is, I guess they have every reason, Dutch especially, to just be furious with Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Because they're a rescue team, not assassins.
Yeah, right. And clearly, they're on board because the CIA has branched out, but they're clearly realizing, Dutch especially, that they've been set up.
Mm-hmm. But they've got a job to do. They're there.
Right.
They've got to finish the job. And so he dispatches the other team members. They take out a couple of guards. Dutch sneaks into the camp, kind of along the edge. There's a truck there that has like the back wheels off, and they're using the engine to kind of run some kind of
like a generator type thing.
Yeah. And so he throws a bomb in the back of the truck, ends up pushing it forward into the camp on its front two wheels. And I love, like, it kind of gives her the reaction shot of a couple of the other team members, including Blaine, who says something I can't repeat here.
You're right.
It's just like, what is going on? And then this truck just explodes, and they're all like, okay, here we go.
Because Dutch basically broke, I won't say broke character, but like broke his role. Like, everybody's got a job, but when he just kind of goes rogue to do this, like you just mentioned, 2 or 3 of them were like, what's he doing? You know, like, this is not what we do. Yeah. And then realizes, oh, it's party time.
Yeah. Yeah. So he like lifts this truck off of its blocks and just shoves it down a hill with this bomb in it. And it's such a great way to start this scene off.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get into the standard like action sequence here, very Commando-esque.
Oh yeah.
Where it's, Dutch and everybody cuts around to them taking out various guerrillas. Lots of guys doing the chicken dance as they're shot.
Oh yeah.
We get one of the great Schwarzenegger moments of all time when he throws a knife into a guy and it makes the barrel sound. Yeah. Barrel. Stick it around. Then he busts into like a hut, knock knock, and then shoots Sven-Ole Thorsen.
Yeah.
Poor Sven-Ole Thorsen.
I was going to say the same thing. Poor Sven-Ole Thorsen. He's made a career out of getting killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So the hostages are all dead, and they're CIA, Oz. They're not cabinet administrators. And it's both Central American and Russian military there. So Dylan's kind of going through all this paperwork, and he's like, jackpot, like, we got these guys, we cracked them. And Dutch is just kind of standing there like you, like, how dare you? How dare you do this? And he finally, he go ahead.
No, I was just saying, he just looking at him like, you POS, like, you used us.
Yeah. And so he confronts them and says, you cooked up a story. You dropped the 6 of us in a meat grinder. My men are not expendable.
Yeah, he was mad.
Which you wonder if that's where the Expendables movie franchise kind of got its start from.
Kind of launched. I could see it. It's like, what if we made a series of movies where the men were expendable?
Yeah.
And we brought in all the former action stars we could.
Yeah. So that's it. Pancho and Blaine are trying to get into there's some kind of a couple of guys are dug in, and SOB's dug in like an Alabama tick. You're hit, you're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed. You got time to duck. And Pancho then launches a grenade into this nest.
Overhead, but it lands exactly where it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Dutch knocks out a female in the camp, which turns out to be Anna. And Dylan wants to bring her with because she's got to she has to know their whole network. And Dutch is like, she's your baggage.
Yeah.
And then after that, they basically cleaned up this camp. The Predator's still watching them, Oz.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we get that another POV shot. Billy, find me a way out of this hole. And so Billy is tasked, as the tracker and, the guy who kind of makes their routes of like, there's a valley, but I wouldn't want to go through there. Like, well, that's the only way we got. So they have to go through this valley to get out of there, which is basically like the Predator's like hunting ground.
Exactly. It's open season right through there.
So Hawkins tells Billy another crude joke, and this time Billy laughs, Oz. And
thankfully he laughed, so the Predator had something to record.
And then we get that first moment of the Predator like recording these like audio snippets.
I got a question for you. When you went Home Alone in your movie Marriage, did you do Home Alone because of the booby trapping in the forest? Because you could have gone Home Alone 2 with the Walkman recorder.
I didn't think of that. I was going to booby traps.
Yeah. I figured you were, but yeah, I think both 1 and 2 would have fit because Predator basically recorded and used it to his advantage.
Yeah. Well, and Donald Trump also had a cameo. In this movie as well.
He well, there were Russian agents in the camp, so
there you go. He was Sven Thorsson's stunt double.
Right.
Nice. Oh, so we get to them. They're going through the jungle, Oz, and the music's picking up. Mac and Blaine have a moment. And Blaine just says, you lose it here, you're in a world of hurt. Which is like, okay, somebody's going to end up losing it.
Oh, yeah.
Anna tries to escape. She kind of hits Dylan with like a branch, but Pancho stops her. They get into a clearing, and Billy's just kind of looking into the trees.
He's spooked.
Yeah. And, what's got Billy so spooked? It's been acting squirrely all morning, that nose of his.
Oh man, it's Pinocchio.
I'm sorry that I'm like basically reciting the whole
movie.
No,
it's fine. It's fine.
It's one of those, and I was going through my own preparation process. Normally I have like a couple of pages of notes that I take when I'm watching movies.
Yeah.
I found that when we're doing movies that I love, I want to make sure that I'm representing them appropriately.
Fair enough.
And so I end up
you just read the script.
So I have 6 pages of notes for this.
Oh my gosh!
I know it's a sickness, as it really is. But like I did the same thing with like Young Frankenstein.
Right.
Like all the movies that I really really love, I end up overdoing my notes on because I don't want to leave anything out of respect for the film.
Christmas Prince.
I had 12 pages of notes actually for the sequel. Christmas Prince 2.
You almost lined up the director to be on the show, but
I did.
They were busy.
He also has a history with Kelly Rowland as well.
Yeah, that's your link.
Yeah, there we go. We all have the same agent. So Dutch goes to the clearing to talk to Billy, and he's like, "There's something in those trees." And you don't see anything. As the viewer, you don't see anything but trees. But then again, they
even like zoom in, but there literally is nothing there, which really messes with your mind. Because I've seen this movie so many times, and even when I watched it this time and they zoomed in, I'm like, all right, I'm going to look. Is there really something out there? There's nothing out there.
No, you don't see it, or at least you're not supposed to see it.
Right.
But again, then it flips, and you see the Predator's POV. He's looking right at them.
Right.
But they can't see him, and you, the viewer, can't see it, which just it just feels so unsettling, and I love it. So like Dylan kind of goes for a closer look, leaving Anna to kind of club Pancho, and then she takes off. Dutch whistles to Hawkins to go get her, and he ends up tracking her down. And as he's doing so, you see the Predator POV also running after Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
And so he grabs her, And as he grabs her and he's trying to kind of subdue her, Anna's eyes change and she sees something moving. And then while the camera's on her, you just hear Hawkins just shriek.
Yeah.
And you hear this like knife sound, and his blood just splatters all over her face. So he's gone. Hawkins is gone, Oz.
Yeah.
And then,
gone. Like not laying over there. He's gone.
Yes, he is dead. And so then you see this like, like the camouflaged predator just drag Hawkins's body, just dragging him by the foot into the brush. I was reading, I think in the trivia, Oz, the way they created that effect, the camouflage, like they filmed like Kevin Peter Hall in like a big red suit because it was like kind of the most opposite color of the green in the jungle.
Yeah, green screen wouldn't work here.
No, and then they filmed it again with a wider lens, and it created this like sort of like vacuum.
Oh yeah, it would.
And so this like pocket in, like in the shot is what the predator was. Which again, I'm technically not describing it very well, but again, this is pre-CG.
Oh yeah, it's very practical yet camera trickery.
Yeah, but it just looks so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm glad this was pre-CG because
they would have screwed it up.
Yeah. And so the others, they hear Hawkins, and so they run over and what's going on. Pancho gets there first. He kind of follows this blood trail, and then he doesn't find the body, but he finds a pile of organs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you got to field dress your kill.
Yeah. So, do you find Hawkins? I can't tell.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
I mean, just that line delivery of like, these guys clearly they've seen things. Like, that murder and mayhem and death are not new to these guys, but they're out of their element here.
Yeah. And Dutch just sees Pancho's reaction, so he gives his team an order, like spread out 50 meters, sweep pattern. We're gonna find Hawkins's body. And so they're looking around, and it cuts over to Blaine, and Blaine's got his giant minigun out, and he hears something rustling, and it turns up it's like a small rodent, like a porcupine or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's a little moment where some kind of blood or like liquid splatters on Blaine, and I never knew what it was, and I finally found kind of an answer, I think in the trivia as I was reading and doing the research. Because before he gets drilled with a plasma cannon, something else hits him and kind of stuns him.
Okay.
So supposedly the predator threw like a small spear or something at him, and it kind of winged him.
Oh, okay. I always wondered what that was too.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't get hit.
Yeah.
Like we like you mentioned, we see the blood splatter, but we don't see what caused it. But he's also not dead yet. So
he's just kind of staggered. Like something hits him, kind of wings him, and kind of staggers him. And then he kind of turns around, and the predator just drills him through the chest with this shoulder-mounted plasma cannon, which we have not seen yet in the movie. So just this blue energy ball just bores its way through him. And then Mac kind of sees Blaine fall, and then sees the camouflage predator, whose eyes glow yellow, and then he takes off into the jungle.
Right.
Mac picks up Blaine's minigun and just starts mowing into the jungle.
Oh, yeah. It's deforestation at its finest.
Yeah. The others run up and just respond to Mac, and so everybody's just firing into the jungle.
Yeah.
Just capping off round after round, clip after clip. Pancho's firing his grenade launcher. They hit nothing.
Right.
Nothing, Oz. And it was very similar as to what happened with the other 6 soldiers, including their leader, who I didn't mention before, Jim Hoppa. Jim Hoppa. Same thing happened to Hoppa.
Jim. Jeem. That's how you spell it.
Yes, that's his.
Jim.
That's his birth. That's on his birth certificate. Jim Hoppa.
Jim.
They did the same thing to Hoppa. So they're down. Blaine's dead. Hawkins is dead. Max kind of beside himself.
He's kind of lost. They have no idea what's going on.
So they decide to hole up for the night. They put tripwires down, mines down, everything in kind of a defensive position. So it's nighttime. They're on the radio. They're still not getting an extraction. They're too far in. and Max got first watch Oz, and something sets off the tripwires. And it's this cool shot of Max just with a knife in his hand, just stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Turns out it's a wild boar.
Right. Which is no easy takedown in itself.
Yeah.
So
in the middle of a jungle.
It's like that's the comic relief for the moment is Mac just took down a wild boar by himself with his bare hands.
Yeah.
And a knife. But
so as they're all distracted, they realize nobody's watching Anna. And so they run back over and she hasn't moved. She's too terrified to move.
Right.
But Blaine's body's gone. So this thing came in and took Blaine's body. So they know something's gotta happen here, Oz. So they end up setting the next day. They're setting more tripwires. Billy tells Pancho, like something's out there, and Pancho's like, "You ain't afraid of no man," and Billy's like, "Ain't no man. We're all gonna die."
It's like, oh, it's just miserable. Like they shouldn't be there. They know they shouldn't be there, but they're there, and now they're completely outmatched. Yeah. And they don't know by what, and they're just the reality is setting in of like this is not going to end well for us.
Yeah. Well, and they trust Billy enough to know that something's off.
Right. Yeah.
Like Dylan's the only one who's like, it's a couple of guys running around.
Yeah. But he doesn't have any idea what's going on.
But he's not part of the team.
He's the one that put him there in the first place.
Yeah. And so they end up, we make a stand now or there'll be no one to get to the chopper. This thing is hunting us. And Dutch finally confronts Anna. Like, what did you see? Asks her in English. And she finally says, so she has been able to speak English this whole time. Like she says, like the jungle came alive. Mm-hmm. You know, it changes colors like the chameleon. And it turned
to which Dylan's like, ain't no lizard.
Yeah.
Like he took her he took her literally like a chameleon did all this. Like, what a dope.
And Dutch cuts her binds. Said this thing is hunting us, all of us.
Right.
We make a stand now. And so together, with Anna helping them, because she's basically an ad hoc member of the team now, they set up like these traps for it. You know, we got to catch this thing, otherwise we're not going to make it out of here.
Right.
And so we get the moment where like everyone's shirtless and greasy and sweaty, and they're like setting these traps. And finally, Dutch tells Dylan, like, you gonna help or not? And it cuts immediately to like shirtless Carl Weathers. Apparently,
fun. I'll take my shirt off.
Yeah. Apparently, during the shoot, Oz, they basically set up like a gym there.
Uh-huh.
And at like 4:00 in the morning, they would all go work out together, like Weathers and Schwarzenegger and Ventura and Sonny Landham. And it was just this like hyper masculine, hyper macho. Had to have
been.
Yeah, and these guys are just enormous. Mm-hmm. And so they got these traps set up, and so they kind of take their positions, kind of in the brush next to this clearing. Mac keeps with he's dry shaving his face with his razor. Anna tells a story from her childhood about. We began finding our men without their skin, sometimes much worse. The demon who makes trophies of men.
Dips them in gold and puts them on top of the trophy. Like you're going to be in a bowling stance. And
mounts on the front of the hood of the car.
Exactly.
Oh, man. She also had found some of its blood.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, we could kill it.
It's like lime green.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess the way they made it was a combination of like broken glow sticks and KY jelly.
I was going to say it's like, highlighter fluid.
Yeah. So they got this trap set, and Dylan says, what are you going to try next? Cheese? Because it's not coming.
Right.
And so Dutch just walks out. He just walks into this clearing trying to lure it out. And nothing happens, and he kind of lets his guard down, and then it immediately gets snapped up in this giant net, and it's just hissing. It's just like hissing and like snarling, and it just starts firing its plasma cannon everywhere to get loose. It knocks it knocks a log into Pancho, basically like breaking all of his ribs.
Oh yeah.
So he's not dead, but he's in bad shape, Oz.
Yeah.
It gets loose, and Mac, who's kind of gone off the deep end because his best friend Blaine's dead, just runs after it. It's just screaming. Dutch says, I'm going to go after him, and Dylan's like, no, we each got a score to settle. It's not your style, Dylan. So Mac and Dylan are going after it, while Dutch and Anna and Pancho are trying to make their escape to the chopper. So Mac's just going off the deep end. He's reciting lines from Long Tall Sally.
He's like singing to the Predator.
Yeah. I'm going to have me some fun. I'm going to have me some fun.
Bill Duke is so awesome.
Yeah, he is. Again, you could question the macho-ness of this movie, but like they got the actors down.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect casting for this movie.
Yeah.
So Dylan catches up with Mac. Mac has spotted it, and over here.
Right.
He gets Dylan by himself.
And we've heard the Predator mimic voices so far. And so this part had slipped my mind when I was watching it for the show, and I thought, because I'm like Predator's trying to trick Dylan out, and like you really were, because we just saw Mac just gone, like mentally he's snapped, and so I thought for sure, because again, like I mentioned, this part slipped my mind, so I'm like, because I remember how Dylan died. Spoiler alert. But I couldn't remember like the timing of it, and so I thought this was it. But
Dylan's sneaking through the brush, and he hears Mac's voice over here. And again, you don't know if it's Mac, you don't know if it's the Predator,
right?
And then a hand covers Dylan's mouth and kind of pulls him in, and it's Mac. It's like, look out there, past them trees, and he sees it, and they both see it, and Dylan's like, I see it. It's there. Dylan finally believes.
Yeah.
And so they both see it, and they come up with a plan. Mac's gonna go like do kind of a frontal assault, and Dylan's gonna go sneak around behind it and kind of flush it towards Mac. And so you begin with Mac. He's kind of crawling on his back underneath these fallen logs, and then Oz, you see this triangular three red laser dots on his arm, and you don't know what it is at first. And then Mac's like, what's going on? And he kind of leans over and looks, and the thing is now moved to the middle of his head.
Yeah.
Mac's eyes get wide just for a quick second, and then
boom.
The camera shuts. The camera changes to behind Mac's head, and you just see it just basically explode.
Right.
And the camera pans up, and the Predator is basically standing on top of him.
Yeah,
he's like just standing over, like feet above him on these logs that Mac was crawling under, and he just blasted him right in the head,
just tracking him
like point blank. In the meanwhile, Dylan is sneaking around, and he's kind of whispering for Mac, and he looks up and he sees Mac's corpse, just covered in blood. And then Dylan sees the Predator as. And the Predator starts running towards him. No, I take it back. Dylan starts shooting, and the Predator throws his laser sight out there. And just as Dylan starts to shoot, the Predator blasts his arm off. Dylan's arm off. The arm and the machine gun fall to the ground. Still firing.
And as he just screams in agony. Rocky!
Basically, yeah. And so he's got a smaller gun over his other shoulder, and so he kind of turns to get this gun off of his shoulder. In the meantime, the Predator is taken off at a dead sprint right towards him, extracts his claws, and just shoves it right into Dylan's torso, lifting him up off the ground. And Dylan gives the death cry of all death cries here, Oz. Like the others can hear him, half a mile away or however far they are. Like he's standing right next to him.
He just yells, ouch.
Yes. Owie, owie, owie! It stings!
Stop!
I hope someone has some Bactine.
It's a really long, drawn-out death phrasing
of
Dylan.
And it is a death cry, Oz. In the meantime, we see the other characters. So Billy, Pancho, Dutch, and Anna making their escape, and there's kind of a little like causeway almost that they're passing over, like a felled tree.
Yeah.
And Billy hears Dylan's death cry, and he just stops on the bridge. He just stops. He throws his gun down, takes out this incredibly long machete.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there looking back from where they came, and he just starts cutting himself across the chest. And Dutch is like, Billy, let's go. And then he realizes he's not coming.
No. He's buying him some time.
This is how Billy's going to die.
Yeah. And he's welcoming it.
Yeah. And so the camera stays with Pancho and Dutch and Anna as they're still making their way through. And then you hear Billy scream. Yeah. And then nothing. They all pause. And they're maybe 100 feet from this clearing. They're not far away from Billy. So they all pause and you hear nothing. And then immediately Pancho takes a plasma round to the head. So he's gone.
Yeah.
So in a matter of moments, Mac, Dylan, Billy, and Pancho are all gone in about a 2-minute span.
Right.
Anna goes to grab Pancho's gun, and Dutch just screams, no! Kicks it out of her hand, and then he fires at the tree that the Predator's at. The Predator gets a plasma cannon off, hits Dutch's gun, knocking him to the ground, and then as we get the greatest Schwarzenegger line of all time, you want to take this one?
I'll let you do it. You've earned it.
Thank you, buddy. Dutch screams at Anna, go! Get to the chopper!
Oh, I love Arnold.
Yeah. Run! Oh, and so she takes off. And that's
knowing exactly where the chopper is.
Yes, yeah, because she knows the coordinates and all that.
Well, it is her jungle. She knows where the helipad's located.
That's right. So she takes off. Dutch makes his way to his feet and starts running, and the Predator's chasing him down, and you get the POV shot, and he's getting closer and closer to him through the heat vision. And then Dutch kind of stumbles down a hill and then falls into like a huge river.
Yeah.
And
it's like over a waterfall, and
so he tumbles down, and eventually, I love the camera work in here as well. At one point, the camera is like in the water with him.
Mm-hmm.
It like falls like underwater and then resurfaces with him at the same time. So Dutch eventually makes his way to the shore, and as he kind of relaxes, you see and hear a splash behind him. So the Predator followed him. The Predator jumped in the water as well and went over these waterfalls with Dutch, try to track him down. And so Dutch pulls himself out of the water onto this little beach, and it's incredibly muddy.
Yeah.
So by the time he pulls himself up, he's just covered in mud. And there's like tree roots everywhere and like brush everywhere. And Dutch just kind of sits there just waiting to be killed. And the Predator comes out of the water and it decloaks itself, and you see him for the first time. You see the Predator head to toe for the first time, Oz. The Predator is looking around and he can't find him. He can't find him. He sees in heat. Yeah. And this mud that Dutch is caked in is camouflaging him. So they're in their way, they each have a camouflage from each other.
Yes.
And so he can't find him, and eventually he gets mad, and the Predator just leaves. I'm going to take a moment and breathe for a second here, Oz. What do you think so far? At this point in the movie, it's just Dutch and the Predator left.
Right. Yeah. This is the mano a mano. Yeah. This is your main event at WrestleMania.
Yes.
This is what we've been building towards the whole movie. And so this is where Dutch is clearly the smartest person in this movie.
Yeah.
And this is where he immediately realizes how the Predator can track how he does. Because he kind of looks at himself and realizes, I'm covered in mud and he can't see me. He must, and I'm glad that they didn't write it so Dutch was like vocalizing his realizations. He just kind of, you could tell he internalized that it's got to be the mud. Like, he can't see me. It's got to be some heat related. And so that's what he's going to do. He stays covered in mud to hide his body temperature, basically. And then waits till night when things cool off and spends his, the next several hours, flipping the script basically of now I'm going to trap him.
Yeah.
Now that I know, I've got the upper hand and I know what he looks like.
Yeah. So he's got a better idea of the Predator's capabilities and weaknesses.
Right.
He knows it can bleed. He knows that it can't see him when he has this mud on.
Right.
And so Dutch is kind of doing his own Boy Scout Home Alone stuff, making his own, like he's got his knife with him and basically like a couple weapons and that's it. Like he's got a couple like grenade shells and things like that, but that's about it.
Right.
And so he's making some of these homemade weapons. He's reapplying the mud. We do get a couple of kind of back and forth shots here between the Predator and Dutch as he's preparing.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the Predator like cleaning the skulls. At one point, you see Billy's like just corpse just slumped against a tree.
Yeah.
And the Predator rips out his skull and spine, just rips out, and then just lets the body fall. And he has this own like way of like cleaning and like preparing these trophies. So like Anna's story was completely true.
Yeah.
Like he makes trophies. He's a big game hunter is basically what he is. And
he's been there a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Predator is basically a big game hunter.
Yeah.
Like he's out there for the sport of it, for the challenge of it,
right.
maybe there's some degree of honor in the Predator culture, but that's what they do. It's how they prove themselves. And so Dutch has got these things prepared. He's got these like homemade spikes and like homemade like tripwires and like counterweights with these giant logs and things like that. And so
he's been busy.
He has. He's Kevin McAllister.
Yeah.
On a side note, speaking of Kevin McAllister, we were watching the terrible Home Alone sequels, and not just the second one. We watched the third and fourth movies last night.
Right. Okay.
Patreon subscriber Melissa L and I, as well as a 7-year-old child who may or may not be ours.
So, 7 years later, and you still haven't had the test done.
No. Yeah, it's nature will take its course.
Yeah, you love her anyway.
Yeah. So we're watching the Home Alone sequels, including the fourth one, in which I never realized French Stewart is in the fourth Home Alone movie.
Yeah, and I haven't seen him, but I knew he was.
And he's playing Marv. He's playing.
Oh.
I never realized it. He's playing the Joe Pesci character.
Oh.
Additionally, and this is even more unnerving than that, the whole plot of the movie is based around the parents getting divorced.
Okay.
So it's like at the beginning of the movie, like the parents are divorced and the dad comes by and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get married to my new girlfriend." Like we've only been like she's like it's only been 8 months, and so it's like the Home Alone movies took a pretty weird turn there.
Right. Dad must have lost his job that allowed him to take his entire extended family to Paris.
Yeah.
And so he's hit that midlife crisis. And...
Yep. So yeah, the Home Alone movies, divorce, remarriage.
Why did you watch those?
Because the 7-year-old enjoys it.
Has she not seen Predator?
I mean, not yet. We figure, she's got to be at least 8 by the time we introduce Predator to her.
Fair enough.
to watch Bill Duke's head explode.
Right. Just tell her it's fake. She's seen water balloons.
I mean, you could argue Predator and Home Alone are just as violent.
They are. I don't know how the wet bandits survived that night.
Well, especially in Home Alone 2, where they're getting like hit by bricks.
I know. And, in the face.
Yes. Yeah, the wet bandits died several times in those movies.
Oh yeah, it's a zombie movie.
It is. So Dutch is ready to fight the Predator. Smooth transition back.
Yeah.
And so he lights a torch, lets out this huge yell, like a battle, like summoning the Predator, basically.
Yeah. Come here. I'm over here.
Climbs up. He's got these homemade weapons. Climbs up a tree. So he's basically like looking down in this giant, like bonfire that he's lit to try to lure the Predator to this clearing. He's got spears. He made a bow and arrow. He's got a couple like little like bombs that he made. The Predator comes in and walks right by Dutch in the tree. So he's camouflaged. They're both camouflaged.
Yeah, right.
But he literally lands in the same tree as Dutch is in and just misses him by inches. Misses touching him by inches. The Predator ends up in the clearing below. Dutch fires like a little bomb from his bow and arrow that he made that kind of wings the Predator. And the Predator starts just shooting randomly up in the trees, kind of similar to before.
Oh yeah, they've really flipped the script.
The tables turned here, yeah. So instead of these green berets firing randomly into the jungle, it's now the Predator firing randomly up into these trees. So he finally knocks Dutch down. And then they kind of go back and forth trying to hunt each other, trying to outwit each other here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dutch throws a spear at him and kind of wings him there. The Predator kind of lures Dutch, uses his own blood to kind of lure Dutch into almost like a little cave, almost to kind of trap him. Dutch gets out of it, ends up getting knocked in the water, washing off all of his camouflage mud.
Yeah.
And as he's for the second time crawling out of the water, this time the Predator's there waiting for him.
Yeah.
Dutch kind of pulls himself up using like a log, and the Predator, who has these two giant spikes, kind of, Wolverine-esque, only minus the middle one. Kind of like X-23 from Logan.
Yeah.
Uses the two spikes on his hand, puts them, right alongside Dutch's head.
He's toying with him.
Yeah. Picks him up by the neck. He kind of looks him up and down, and then he drops Dutch. And then as the Predator takes off his mask, takes off his plasma cannon.
He wants to get a good look at him. Yeah, he realizes we're going to do this hand-to-hand style.
So the Predator's been wearing this mask the whole time. It has like the tech built into it and everything. And the Predator, oh man, he's some kind of monster. Stan Winston was hired kind of late in the game to do the monster suit for this. And as the story goes, he kind of introduced some of the initial concept art to James Cameron, of all people. Okay. And Cameron was like, I've never seen a movie monster with mandibles. And so that's where the kind of open jaw was actually Jim Cameron's idea, of all things.
Yeah.
And so this huge beast, this, towers over Schwarzenegger. They have this knockdown fight, and the Predator just taking it to him. He's just beating the tar out of Dutch.
He's just again, not even, you could tell he's not even giving full effort. I mean, Dutch is trying to survive, and the Predator's just kind of toying with him.
Yeah. And eventually Dutch crawls his way to this area where he laid these traps. There's this sort of like tripwire. It's like a big stick that's like serving as a tripwire. And so he's trying to lure the Predator in here, because if this thing gets knocked out, it's going to trigger these spikes that'll come crashing down. Predator doesn't take the bait. And Oz, no. I will let you take this one. How does Dutch try to lure the Predator in?
He just tells him, "Come on, I'm right here. Kill me. Come on." Just going way overboard. Yeah. Which again, the Predator is also intelligent. I mean, yeah. In a survival, like hunting kind of sense, that he realizes, quickly, wait a minute here, like, you've been trying to get away from me and survive, and now you want me to come to you? Something's up here. And then he discovers the tripwire log and just steps over it. Yeah. And which Schwarzenegger, Dutch just like, you see the look in his eyes of like, oh no. Yeah.
And he knows it's done at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Predator walks around it. Yeah. As you said, Schwarzenegger's just basically at this point just resigned to his death. But he looks up, and this huge log that he used as a counterweight to trigger these spikes, the Predator ends up standing right under it. So Schwarzenegger kicks out the trip, and this giant log falls directly on the Predator. This thing was suspended 50 feet in the air. Right. Knocks him down and mortally wounds him. Yeah. He starts moving again. Schwarzenegger hears him. He picks up a rock to go to kind of crush him, and he sees the Predator's done. Right. He's not dead yet, but he's bleeding. He's coughing. He's
spitting up his his highlighter blood.
Yeah. What are you? And the Predator just repeats it back to him.
Right.
And using a few different words. You one ugly.
Yeah. Semi-trucker, I think is what he said.
Yes, I think that's exactly what he said. And as Dutch is trying to kind of make sense of this, the Predator goes to his little wrist gauntlet and sets off some kind of device that's speeding up and making these sort of alien symbols on it. Mm-hmm. And he starts laughing. The Predator starts laughing, Oz. Yeah. As Dutch starts sprinting away like something's going on here. So he runs away, and basically he sets off like this small nuclear bomb.
Oh yeah. He's got the last laugh.
Yeah, literally. As Dutch dives away. We then cut to the helicopter. They're putting out a fire at the helicopter because it was jostled in the air from this explosion. and they pick up Dutch. Anna's there. She's safe. The general's on there. Kevin Peter Hall, as you mentioned, who plays the Predator, is the pilot. Right. So he gets a little moment out of the suit. And they pick him up. And the last scene we have is them in the helicopter with Dutch just kind of staring like semi-catatonic off into the distance.
Yeah, just like, how did I survive this?
And that's it. That's it, Oz. That is the Predator. We get a fun little title card sequence here at the end as well. With
I love these,
but like the little vignettes of each character, like in character, like looking at the camera, or like Mac has his like flask out, and he like offers a flask to the camera. Yeah. Like
it's like we just watched the stage play, and they're all taking a bow,
basically. And I love it. You know, like
except for Dutch.
Like Blaine like spits his chew out and then smiles at the camera.
Right.
What's his name? Shane Black's character Hawkins is like reading like a Sergeant Rock like comic book.
Yeah. It's almost like they're all looking at us like, don't worry guys, we're fine. This was just a movie. We're not really dead. And then Dutch is just a freeze frame. Like from the movie. You don't even get Schwarzenegger's like, nah, I'm out. I'm not doing that. So it was fun though. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun little coda at the end of it. So that, my friend, is 1987's John McTiernan directed. Oh, he did such a great job with this.
Yes,
Predator.
He did.
Oh, love this movie so much, Oz. At this point, my friend, we give the film we've been talking about our own unique rating. Oz, how would you rate Predator?
I'd give this one 10 skinned bodies.
10 skinned bodies?
Mm-hmm.
Have fun finding your image for that.
I got it.
Yeah. 10 skin bodies.
Yep.
I'm going to give this film 1 million. Get to the choppers! That's how much I love this movie. 1 million. Get to the choppers.
It is a great one for sure.
Next up, folks, we've got Outside Insight, in which Oz and I have scoured the interwebs looking for unprofessional reviews of the movie in question. We find one for yucks, and we share those yucks with you. Oz, what is your Outside Insight for Predator?
I've got a 4-star review from Matt Singer on Letterboxd, and he says, me taking my family to the mall the day after Christmas. We move, 5 meters spread, no sound. Me when the trip to the in-laws is going badly. So you cooked up a story and dropped the 6 of us in a meat grinder.
Nice.
Me to my daughter when she says she's too sick for school and spends the whole day bouncing in bed screaming, you set us up. It was BS, all of it. Predator forever.
Nice. I love it.
I figured you would. How about you?
Mine is a 1 out of 10 star review from the Internet Movie Database. This one comes from MJ Peacock from November of 2019, so 3 years ago as of the time of this recording.
Okay.
No idea where these 10-star reviews are coming from, because this film is pure dross from beginning to end. Predictable, simplistic plot, atrocious dialogue, and dodgy acting. Was an almighty endurance test to actually sit through the whole thing. Can only have achieved its almost mythical status via the follow the crowd mentality. Avoid. So MJ Peacock,
not right at all,
is looking at Predator through a haughty lens, my friend.
I guess so. Poor guy.
I know, right? Just let yourself loose and have some fun.
He probably really likes Home Alone 4.
French Stewart was a better Marv than Joe Pesci.
Yeah. I'll take it to the grave.
Not my Marv. Hashtag not my Marv, Joe Pesci.
Not my Marv.
Not my Marv. French Stewart. All the way. All right.
Oh, boy.
At this point in the show, folks, is the moment you've all been waiting for, our signature segment. The 3, 2, 1s, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie in question, in this case 1987's John McTiernan, Arnold Schwarzenegger driven Predator. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
This is actually a believable Arnold might not win matchup. Like, you know, just based on size. Granted, yeah, they had to go outside of the planet to find, you know, but still, like, you know, in all sense and purposes, like, we've seen Arnold dispatch a lot of the people that he was teamed up with. we've seen him defeat Bill Duke in Commando.
Mm-hmm.
We know he would have defeated Jesse Ventura in Running Man. So a lot of these people in previous movies have not been, they've not been Arnold's equal. But to watch one thing like destroy the entire party, this is the first Arnold might not win matchup.
Yeah.
And in a believable sense. So there's my first good. My second is, I love how Arnold's tactical strategy is to just always home alone the environment.
Yeah.
They kind of do it to get the rebels. He does it, not once, but they really do it twice to the Predator, setting nets and tripwires.
Yeah.
And so like, that's their Green Beret strategy for everything is let's just booby trap the place. And my third, I really like the dirtiness and grittiness of the Predator and his equipment.
Yeah.
He lives in the jungle. He does this for sport, and it's just everything's gritty. Yes, he's from an alien planet, but he's not coming in. He doesn't get like the Star Wars treatment where everything's shiny and advanced. It's just this is just his hunting ground, and this is what he does. So those are my three goods. What about you?
And I'll tack that on just because I've got so many possible goods. Just like the design of the character and even like there's enough lore. Like he's been there for a while. Anna said, when I was a little girl, and you're guessing she's maybe early 20s or so. Right. We would find our men skinned. Sometimes worse. So like he's been there for a while doing this.
But as a hunter, that's what he's doing. He's hunting. Mm-hmm. He easily could have wiped out the entire population, but that's not the sport he does. Yeah. These guys, he just hunts for sport. And so there was a reason, Arnold figured it out, fairly early. He's only taking out those of us that are armed, we're his matchup. And so, no, those are some very valid points you make there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about your goods?
Oh, my goods. Oh, God, there's so many possibilities. I'm going to start with just the relationships between the characters. Again, you don't get this deep dive into their histories, but you don't need to, but you get just enough.
Right.
You can tell Dutch and Dillon have a history. You can tell that Blaine and Mac have a history. The Hawkins trying to kind of buddy up to Billy over the course of the film. Like, again, just the character moments. And like everybody has one.
Yeah.
Even like Pancho and Blaine as well. Like it's the performances are great. The characters are well written. Just enough to give them their own uniqueness, which again kind of goes to like the little vignettes at the end.
Yeah.
Even they're still in character, and you're glad to see them again. Like you're
you are,
because they're such a cohesive unit, and they did such a great job. Very subtly establishing these characters to the point that you care about them and you're sad to see them go. My second one will be the music. Oh, the music in this movie is so amazing, Oz.
I almost put that in there too.
Yeah, it fits every scene, and I can't really go much further than that, but it's perfect.
Yeah, the score of this movie is really good.
Yeah, Alan Silvestri did this. I think it was one of his earlier films, and it's just great. It adds to the claustrophobic sense of the film. It adds to the tension of it, and it's just so seamless. With the effects and the cinematography as well. It's just great. And then the last one, my last good, Oz. I was introduced to this movie by, of all people, my mother. So I have a very fond memories of watching this movie with my mom.
That's awesome. I wouldn't have guessed your mom.
And I was probably like 10-ish or so, a couple years after it came out, on like Showtime or whatever the one premium channel we had was, and we saw it on there. We recorded it from there, and so I have very fun memories of watching this with my mom, and my mom has a thing for gigantic men. So like the scene of Dutch near the beginning, like crawling down towards the camp, the camera kind of follows him, and like his butt's right in the camera, and she really enjoyed that.
That explains your dad too. I could see it.
Yep. Yeah, she also has a thing for Sonny Landham. So yeah, she likes her big macho men, and it was fun to watch that with her and kind of watch her like like reveal little parts of herself as
Yeah.
she was watching it, and I'll never forget like the moment where the Predator towards the end where he unmasked himself, like he starts
Hmm.
letting off those air
Oh, yeah.
hoses,
The little gaskets and.
and she like just grabs my wrist and goes, "Hold on, Kurt," and
You're
and so
kicking
she's
your
like on the
nose.
edge of her seat, yeah, and so like she's on the edge of her seat, like enjoying this moment with me, and it was
That's
just I don't know, I
awesome.
just have these very fond memories of watching of all movies to enjoy with your mother as a
Predator.
kid,
Yeah,
Predator,
that's awesome.
yeah. So there's that. So Oz, what are your two bads?
My first one is showing the spaceship at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
Really,
Mhm.
I think it really foretold the eventual plot twist.
Yeah.
If you could call it a plot twist, but I think they really showed their hand on that one. Especially in repeat viewings. If you watch
Yeah.
it the first time, you might not be, but there's certain movies where showing a spaceship ahead of time isn't a big deal. There's a whole opening scene of Night of the Creeps that takes place with aliens on a spaceship speaking just gibberish.
Mhm.
But but the events of that preface really explains the backstory to the rest of the movie of Night of the Creeps. This one, I think it just jumps the gun. And so that's my first bad is just the showing of the spaceship, the showing the discharge of whatever's coming to planet Earth. We don't know the timeline on when it's landing, but it was enough that it was like, there's going to be something alien in this movie somewhere. And my second is, I get it. As an actor, you've got to have your little trademark, but this movie really didn't allow the space for Arnold and his quipping. It just didn't really fit his character here. He was very serious all the time, but then when he has a chance to stick around or knock knock, it's like,
Yeah.
like the couple of things that, like what he said, what he says to the Predator, that you're one ugly blankety blank, like that to me wasn't equipping. That was just a reaction. But his like look into the camera, almost like he's winking at us. It's like, it doesn't fit Dutch. And for me, that was just a bit much.
Sure.
Like, Arnold doesn't have to do this in every movie.
Sure. I admit I enjoyed those lines, but I'm glad that they occurred during that sequence of the movie,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not when they were actually going up against the Predator.
Oh yeah, they definitely happened in scenes where they were still in control, which was good. But it still was enough that I'm like, you're the leader of this TAC force, and you're still finding time to, like, you're lucky that they didn't have a gun pulled on the door when you opened up, and to drop your quick knock knock, like.
Yeah.
So those little things, and again, I was searching for bads, so that was one.
Yeah, and again, I don't disagree with you on that. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy the lines in this movie.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I completely understand, how that could be framed as a bad, especially in this movie and that with that character.
I could have said the same thing in Running Man too. Like, you're literally trying to survive, and you're still finding time to drop your little one-liners.
He went from Sub-Zero to Plane Zero.
At least that one they did survive. But like when he's trying to get Dynamo and hey light bulb, hey lighthead, like they're lame already, and like these guys are trying to murder you.
Yes,
and they have the advantage. So, what are your bads?
My bads, I'm going to start with just the homophobic and misogynistic language.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's as much as I love this movie, there's just a couple moments where it's like, oh, come on, I don't want a reason to not like this movie. And there's a couple little moments in there where it's like, you could have established the Hawkins character in other ways. Like, there's other ways you can make crude jokes without having to go there and be misogynistic. And there's a line that Blaine says, that Jesse Ventura says, that's homophobic. It's like, come on, there's ways to get those characters across and get those points across without having to resort to using certain words or certain language. Like,
I agree.
Like, come on, be better. I don't want to not like this movie, and Those are things that just make it a little less than perfect.
Right.
My other bad, and it's a little moment in this movie that always bothered me, and it's kind of similar to one of my bads from The Running Man. Again, bringing that. It's funny you brought that up. A couple of weeks ago, when one of my bads for The Running Man was toward the end when they're plotting with the with these like rebels. Yeah, with the resistance, and they just showed the deep fake video of Schwarzenegger's of Ben Richards dying, and he's so mad.
And they just forgot about him.
Yeah, and he's so mad that he lightly wraps his hand on a metal file cabinet. Darn that Killian! It's like, and so it's kind of the same in this where it's towards the end, and the Predator is near the campfire, and Schwarzenegger takes out his bow and arrow. And he used some of his remaining explosives to make like an arrow that has an explosive tip on it, and he fires it down at the Predator, and it just kind of like bleh, out of the arrow.
Yeah,
like earlier they showed him practicing the arrow, and or the bow, and he shot it, and it made like the boing, like the arrow sound to show how strong the bow is. But then he uses the bow against the Predator, and the arrow just like. It
I never noticed.
It's like if someone kind of like does like a forearm throw with a ball, just kind of like like that's the equivalent of this arrow coming out of this bow. And that always bothered me. It is. So next time you're watching the Predator, he's crossing the little bridge next to the bonfire.
Oh, I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah, and the arrow just limply falls out of the arrow.
Right.
Like he could have thrown it harder. So, yeah, those are my two bads. What about your huh?
Well, I got to come up with a new one. I've always wondered, and because you answered it, I've always wondered why Arnold did not get blown apart when he got shot by the Predator.
Sure.
With this photon cannon. I never realized until you said it that it hit his gun. It's a quick little reaction. I thought it just glanced him in the chest. And so that was my was why Arnold didn't get blown apart when he got shot in the chest by the Predator. But like you said, it hit him in the gun. So I guess my is why didn't I realize Arnold got shot in the gun?
So you are your own huh.
Yeah, my own All the times I've seen this, because I've always wondered, like, it's not fair. Like, we've watched this like photon cannon blow everything else up. And then, it hits Arnold in the chest, but apparently his pec muscles are so tight that it just resists it.
It's the metal exoskeleton.
I guess he got shot in the skeleton, or got shot in the skeleton, got shot in the gun. So that's my huh. Why didn't I realize that prior to now?
I love that you are your own huh.
Well, it literally just was as I was talking. I'm like, well, that's my huh. So.
Oh, I got two possibilities for huh. I'm gonna mention them both. The first one is when Dylan sees Mac's corpse, his head is intact, and in the prior shot, like you literally saw Mac's head explode and like the chunks of skull fall into the camera.
Yeah, he got scanned.
Yeah, exactly. and then when Dylan sees him, like his head is intact. So did his head explode or what gives? I don't know. The other real huh I'll go with here. After the Predator set off his self-destruct, he laughs, and he doesn't sound like anybody else that he's recorded. It sounds like Vincent Price laughing.
Oh,
and it's like, did he record that from someone, or does the Predator actually laugh? Like, does he vocalize his own laugh?
I think I have an answer.
Okay.
Thriller is like the greatest selling album of all time.
Okay.
And to think that it didn't make it to this part of the world is a little far-fetched. So I bet he's probably overheard some of the jungle dwellers listening
he overheard Svenel Thorson listening to Thriller.
Thriller, yeah. That's got to be the answer.
Cassette tape at the guerrilla camp.
That's got to be the answer.
Maybe like how in we will use like heavy metal music to torture. Like people we capture.
Yeah.
Maybe the Russians use Michael Jackson's Thriller to torture the CIA or the CIA agents that they took hostage.
That's got to be it. So that's why he sounds like Vincent Price.
Okay, that sells it. I mean,
I'm glad you had two Huns because we cleared up one.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for clearing that up for you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Checks every box. Makes complete sense. Well, hey Oz, we just wrapped up 80s Schwarzenegger month. Wow, what a month that was!
It was a good month, a very good month.
Started with Conan the Barbarian, then we got Commando, Running Man,
Twin Powers.
Twins.
He's my brother.
They just want food for God's sake.
Crumb. Don't worry, Sully. I'll kill you last.
I lied.
Well, we need to segue to a new month.
We do need to segue to a new month. And
we're
closing November.
Yes, we are closing November, and we are headed into December. And aside from you and I both having a birthday, what is the other big holiday in December?
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. Yep. Some people do celebrate Christmas, and so we want to recognize our minority listeners that celebrate Christmas.
Because in America, it's an underrated holiday.
It is very underrated, and so we are going to do a month of movies questioning whether or not our selection is a Christmas movie or not. There are very obvious Christmas movies out there, movies like Jingle All the Way and Christmas with the Cranks.
Come see my movie, Jingle All the Way.
and
my Hollywood blockbuster.
and A Christmas Story, or just some to come to mind. But we're going to cover 4 movies next month that some will argue are Christmas movies and some will argue are not. They all take place around the Christmas holiday, but Christmas is not the big reason for the season in these 4 movies.
So the age-old question: are these holiday movies?
Are they
they movies that just happen during the holidays?
Right. And so we are going to kick off next month with my selection, and we're going to start with Gremlins. We're going to review the movie as normal, and then discuss whether or not Gremlins should count as a Christmas movie or not. Because it's important to add movies to the rotation.
We're going back to the Zach Galligan bucket.
Yes, we are.
I actually, just this morning, I switched out our second week.
I see that.
Yep.
I see that.
I went in a different direction there.
What was the second week originally?
It was Iron Man 3.
That's what I thought it was. Because that was one
3,
I was like, wait, I thought Iron Man 3 was on here. I almost switched out. See, I like my 1 and 3 choices, though. I was going to switch one of them out to that Dennis Leary movie, The Ref.
Okay.
Just because, honestly, I've never seen it. But I know it takes place around Christmas, and I'm curious. But I'm like, I bet we could fit that in somewhere else. Yeah. Because that's high on my list of movies to squeeze in.
The Ref.
The Ref. So, we will be back next week to cover Gremlins. It'll be my movie, so I'll cover the plot. If you haven't seen it, we are going to spoil it.
The alternate name of this podcast, spoiler alert.
That's true. And so, we'll be back next week to cover Gremlins. But for November and 80s Arnold month, we've closed it out. We've covered Arnold. I'm just glad we've got all of next month covered. Yeah. Oh, you got your 2 picks in there. Nice.
Yeah.
I like both those picks too.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun month. We got 4 really solid movies here. 2 actiony movies, a comedy, one that's kind of like Gremlins, which is kind of leans into the sci-fi and the comedy,
a little bit,
a tinge of horror.
I would say I think it leans into more horror than anything. You could make the argument too. We didn't bring it up about Predator, that I almost put it down as a good that they slid a horror movie into an action movie box, because this is a straight horror film. Yeah. That you've got a monster from another planet and murders, and it's a horror film, but it's an action horror film, and it's definitely more action. But next month we're going to cover, is it horror or is it Christmas or is it both? Some movies like Krampus are very obviously Christmas movies with a horror tint to it. So, but this will be a fun month. So, Well, you know how to find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find a link to Patreon down below if you would like to dip into your coffers and help us out in this holiday season. This is where I would lay in some Sarah McLachlan music.
'Tis the season to give to Oz and Curtis.
It is, yeah. No truer words have been said. But yeah, you can find us where I mentioned on social media. And of course, we will be back next week with Gremlins. So for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.